In this video we are going to understand the concept of sharding. In the last video we have installed the Mongos, which will be used as a router in the configuration of sharding. So let's understand the sharding concept. So sharding in MongoDB is a method of distributing the data across multiple servers, and this is to, there's two concept of a scalability, that is vertical scaling and horizontal scaling. In vertical scaling, you add the compute like CPU memory on the same server, but in the horizontal scaling you increase the number of nodes. So the sharding is generally the horizontal scaling capacity, and it allows MongoDB to handle large amount of data and high throughput because the data is being distributed into n number of nodes. For example, if you have 3 GB of data, for example, you have 3 GB data. So as per sharding, for example, you have two shards. So as per you, 1.5 GB will be on this shard and 1.5 GB will be on this shard. So this is the basic concept. This is different from replication. Replication does not distribute the data. However, the replication is a method of getting copy of a whole single node, and this is the different thing. This is not the copy of the data. This is just a distribution of data. We have kept the data on the two nodes. So this is the basic architecture of sharding. This there are four parameters upon which, or four nodes based architecture it is. First node will be, or first server will be the router. It will act as a router. The second will act as a shard cluster 1. This will be shard cluster 2, and this will be config server. So if you are going to set up the very basic sharding, you will need 4 cluster. I am saying cluster, not server, because each cluster will be having a three node replica set, because in the version greater than 4.0 in MongoDB, replica set is mandatory for each shard. So shard 1 will have 3 nodes, shard 2 will have 3 nodes, config servers will have 3 nodes, and this router will only single. There is no need of any replication here, and applications will connect to this router, not directly with the config servers or shard 1 or shard 2. So why sharding is used? Already said, it is used for horizontal scaling and to enhance performance, and also it acts as a high availability since replication is being used inside this cluster. So key components: shards. We have we can make n number of shards: shard 1, shard 2, shard 3, shard 4, and each shard will have 3 nodes, and 3 nodes will be a set of replica, in which one will be primary, two will be secondary. Similar in this, one will be primary, two will be secondary. In this also, one will be primary, two will be secondary. So shards are mandatory. Config servers also, replica set is must. There must be at least 3 node replica set. And Mongos, here replica set is not required. So already I have been made a video on Mongos, what is Mongos, and how to install on your Linux machine, because generally uh, it has been observed that when you download the MongoDB package, it get missed. So you can install it manually. The Mongo is query router that interacts with the application and directs operations to the appropriate shards, and it does not stores any data. Application sends query to this router, and this query fetch, okay, this data is on which shard. Is it on shard 1 or is it on shard 2? So this is the role of router. Responsibilities: it route the queries, aggregation and merge. It aggregates the, for example, you are sorry, if you are executing a query which is your requirement is to get queries and the data, and the data are on two different shards. So router will combine the data and it will fetch. so that the front application will not get to know, okay, on which shard it is. There's nothing to do with the sharding and with the application will see as a single server. So this was the okay, interaction with config servers. So it uses the metadata from the config servers to maintain the information about cluster topology is maintained in the configure server. So which is shard, which is shard 2, which is it under application. So all the details are stored in config server. So router will first go to config server, and config server again let the Mongo router know, okay, this is shard 1, this is shard 2, go and put the data here. So it stores the cluster topology. Also, router act as load balancing, which distribute the queries and manage the load of the connections coming from the applications. So let's start with the config topology. In this hands-on lab, we will consider only 4 router, because creating 3, 6, 7, 8 and 9 servers is too expensive and is for the resource consumption. So I will just uh, create one node replica set here, one node replica set here, one node here, one node here. So total we will go with four MongoDB servers. I have already created those. MongoDB 1, it will act as shard 1, this will act shard 2, this will router, and this will config server. So shard 1, we have this one, but in production make sure that you have all the 3 nodes in the sharding. I am just creating one node and implementing replica set with only primary, and two secondary will not available, only creating replica set with primary. In the same way, I am creating the 3 node replica set in this shard2 with only one node that will be primary. Similar in the config server, in production there will be 3 nodes, but for the explanation and for this lab environment, I am just creating only one node for the config server. So shard 1 will have IP this one, shard 2 will have this one, config server have IP this one, and router will have IP this one. So let's start with the configuration of the config server. So in the replica set name, you have to give the set name and cluster role as config server. So let's go to our configuration file. And paste the configuration here. You have to bind this IP. Just delete this one. What was that? So, and also bind the IP of this configuration server. So IP we have given is this. Save the configuration file. Now start the service. Let's connect to the database. So we are in the database, service is running. Now next step is to uh, create a replica set. Since we are using only one node in the replica set for illustration purpose, we will go and initiate this query. It is saying this node was not started with replication enabled. So let's go back to our where we started the server. We have to first stop this. Then we have to start. Now let's connect to the now make sure you have to put here config server 2 to let this configuration know okay this is the config server. Now okay, it is writing secondary. Go exit from this server, and when you will come back, you will get it as a primary. So this is primary. Let's check the status. It is primary. So our config server has been configured. Similarly, you have to make configuration of the shard. So I have just created the configuration. I have already made the configuration of shard 1 and shard 2. This is our shard 1, and this is our shard 2. I will just put in order. Here it will be router, it will be shard 1, shard 2, it will be router, and this is our config server. So I will minimize this, and this will be our config server. I will get exit. So shard 1 and shard 2, let's see the configuration of shard 1 and shard 2. So each shard should be a replica set. Already I have informed you that in each shard, for example, this is shard 1, this is shard 2. It does not mean that this is a single server, single node. Okay, so this is the part of one shard, that is this is node 1 in the shard 1, and this is node 1 in the shard 2, and there will be node 2, node 3, node 4, node 5, similarly in the node n number of nodes in the shard 2. So this is only one node. Let's suppose this is shard 1. In shard 1 there will be one node, two node, three node. This will node as a replication. So I am considering only for this environment I am just taking as a single node. So shard configuration, already I have bounded the IP. and replica set name you have to give your different name. For example, you have to give shard1 or anything you can remember with the shard. So I have given replica shard1 since it is a replica set, and you have to make this sharding as cluster role as shard server. In earlier configuration of the config file, you have uh, made this sharding cluster role as config server. In this you have to make cluster role as a shard server. Similarly, the same you have to perform on the next shard. So I will show you the shard configuration of the shard one. Let's see. So this is configuration of shard 1. IP is already banded to 88.154. This one. And replication set to RS1 and cluster role to shard server. In the same way, configuration file set to of this shard2, only you have to change is the replica set name, that is rs2, because this is different shard, and in this shard you will have three different nodes, and the three different nodes will have uh, different replica set name from this. So already banded the IP, replication rs2, cluster role is shard server. Now after this you have to uh, initiate the replication in the both side. I have already initiated the replication. You can see in config already we have seen that it is primary, it is primary. Let's see in this also, this is primary. This is also primary. So I have already initiated the replication. Now come to Mongo's router configuration. Since we know that it will not store any data, so there is no need of replication or any high availability for this. Use case is that it is used only with the sharded cluster to provide scalability of large data sets and high throughput application. Already we have seen in the previous points. So remember this, its run mode is service. It is just service. Just as in Windows it runs in background, it is service, it will run in background. So in previous video I have let you know, I have created a video which demonstrate how to install this Mongos. So don't confuse between Mongos and Mongo Shell. Both are different things. Mongo Shell is just utility or uh, alternative of graphical user interface to connect with the MongoDB database, and Mongo is the process which you use for sharding. It use as router. So to configure Mongos, already if you have installed the Mongos, just you have to write the command mongos hyphen hyphen config db, and this will be the name of config replica set. This will be the name of replica set of the configuration server. It will direct to the configuration server to get the topology of the architecture. How many shards are there? How are those shards are in replication or not? So this will direct to the uh, config server. So this is the replica set name and this is the IP. For example, suppose if you have config server, since we have only one node replica set, for example, if you have three nodes in this config server, one primary, two secondary, then you will have to give this as host number, host 1, then x dot x dot x dot host 2 host, and IP of the third server, third node. So in this way you have to start the Mongos. So let's start the Mongos. I am on router. Let's start the Mongos. So now it is running. Now if for example the application comes from new window, for example I am application user and I am connecting to the router. You can see here it is writing Mongos. In this it writes replica set name, whether it is primary or not. So it is a difference between router. So here it is writing Mongos. Now we can see the sharding capability of this shard server. So this was the basic configuration of the shards. Now if for example there are different type of shard, I will cover in detail in the next videos. This video is for the purpose of configuration only. So for example, you have to add the clusters into the shard. Till now we have only configured the servers and sharding has not been yet initialized. So now you have to add the shard.